I'm back. That was a lot of finagling going on in the background. I still don't know why the download speed is bitchin', but the upload speed is half-assed, other than the fact that I think I'm not the standard use case for most households. That would be the guess. Hi, Doug. How are you? Thanks very much. Yeah, refresh your stuff, folks. Here I am. Your Rocket Queen. Let's see. I'm just going to, make sure. The download speed stuff should help us immensely in the fact that I have to play clips and respond to them. The upload speed is allegedly 3 times higher than I will need for the show. But we don't know for sure, so wish me luck. That said, I should probably, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put this guy, I'm gonna put the laptop on top of a thing that will keep it relatively cool. Stay cool. And welcome you guys back to the show. So I'm hesitant to jump straight back into the content until such time as I know that it's okay and it's flowing, so that I don't get carried away on a big rant and say something ingenious as I am wont to do and then end up didn't go anywhere. It's very sad. I mean, pearls before swine is one thing, but pearls before no one is even sadder. I would argue at least a swine will try and at least eat the goddamn thing. Talk about Hegseth again. Oh yes, we'll get there. We'll get to the Hegseth memo because Trump has denied knowing anything about it. Let's see if I can find the little. I'm sure someone has sliced this up someplace. Trump Hegseth denies memo. No, it was denies breach, I guess, maybe. Trump denies outside war plans to the Atlantic. Yeah, that would be it. That would be this little short. Hold on. Dink.
I'm not a big fan of the Atlantic. To me, it's a
Hold on.
We don't want to have a potential war with China, but
Get back out of here. Why is this? Why would you not play through Bloomberg Quick Takes?
I'm not a big fan of.
There we go. All right. That's that. I hear the sound of it, so it should be working. Here, let's check in real quick because, I mean, when all of us think of leadership, we think of, more than anything, protecting our national security secrets from the numerous villains across the world. And obviously, there's a lot of things you use firewall, spies with little guns that give you a heart attack, a space ray made by Jews. There's a lot of ways you can fight back against our national secrets getting out and costing Americans their lives. Then there's Pete Hegseth or one of Trump's cabinet accidentally adds you to a signal group, and suddenly you have access to everything because your number is one off from somebody important. I doubt it. More than likely, it's because it was in their phone. But here you go.
Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
It's amazing, by the way. In any other circumstance, this would be an all hands on deck gathering around the desk in the Oval Office. All hands on desk, I guess. Let's call it that. Where everybody would just get together and go, okay, shit, this is bad. We need to find a way to message this. We got to cover our asses. And honestly, some people are like, he's playing stupid, he's playing stupid, he's playing dumb. I don't know that he is. I think he's out of the loop. I think he's asking a genuine question. Now, we have no way of knowing because his ignorance is so aligned with his arrogance and his defensiveness that they all look the same.
The Houthis, you mean the attack on the Houthis? Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective, I can tell you that. I'm not a big fan of the Atlantic.
Also, I think I don't know. I was about to say he misunderstands, but I don't know that he's capable of understanding it in the first place. So can you misunderstand something if you do not have the capability to understand both English or the question or the concept of how bad this is? somebody's got to ask a follow-up to this. Will they? Maybe we'll see. But I'm sure after this, Hegseth got an earful, at the very least, if not from Trump, from those around him. Let's see. Here's a. I guess this is the bullet fuller. This would be this is a better image of it. Hold on one second. This is a little better. The same basic thing.
Mr. President, your reaction to the story in The Atlantic that said that some of your top cabinet officials and aides had been discussing very sensitive material through Signal and included an Atlantic reporter for that. What is your response to that?
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business.
Also, let's just say, let's follow this path a little bit. The Atlantic sucks. Going out of business. There's no even reason to regard it as a real magazine. And yet it ended up in the favorite phone numbers in the Signal group of your national security advisor. So let me get this straight. Your defense is that the Atlantic, which sucks and is failing, still has access to your national security advisor, or your national security advisor is so fucking dumb, he's hunting for clout points from a failing newspaper? None of this makes any sense. It's obviously, this is his, when in doubt, this is his cornered rat. These are the standard 2 neck dodges that a cornered rat does, that he always does.
It's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had.
So sorry, the magazine that sucks and and that knows everything about it knows nothing about, nothing about the subject that they were aware of and printed a story on. So they suck and you know less than they do. Follow me?
What?
They were using Signal.
What?
To coordinate on sensitive materials and
Having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
with the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis? Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective.
Okay. Does he think that the Atlantic was talking to the Houthis? Reporter, you're shit at asking the question. Your national security advisor accidentally or on purpose added a reporter to a top secret Signal group that shared plans, attack plans. That reporter heard all the conversations, got all the plans texted to them via Signal. Who's in charge? Where was the breakdown? Where was the in the chain of command, who failed in your administration?
I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time. Anybody else?
Just dodge it entirely. I've never heard, I don't know, whatever. It'll pass. It won't pass. It'll just go into the, on the weights, does Hegseth weigh more than a duck? It will go on that side of the scales as one of the bricks to justify giving him the ouster at some point. Oh, staff chat? Yes, will do. Hopefully it's something not too bad. Let's see, whatever. Oh, top Trump official accidentally texted war plans. This is the reporter. Yes, I read that this morning. Papow. So, it's the PBS. Oh, that's the PBS news hour. He was on there. Okay, so this is Jeffrey Goldberg talking about it. Excellent. Hold on, let's jump in here real quick.
Senior Trump administration officials, including the vice president and secretary of defense, used the encrypted.
I don't know why they're not saying who they are. Boozy McUnderpants and Slappy Dum Dum. That's not necessarily in that order.
Messaging app Signal to debate the pros and cons of launching military strikes against the Houthis in Yemen.
And they accidentally invited.
Oops.
Editor-in-chief of The Atlantic and Washington Week moderator Jeffrey Goldberg to be part of that chat group. Goldberg revealed the details today in a report published for The Atlantic, and he joins me now. Jeff, welcome to the News Hour. Thanks for joining us.
Jeff's like, I didn't want to be a part of this story.
Thanks for having me.
So you're added to this group chat. You see some 18 or so other people on it. Among them appear to be senior national security and cabinet officials like Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Pete.
He signed off of the Signal group, but not before making a note of, or taking a screenshot, I guess, of who was involved in this. Now, I got to tell you, why the Secretary of the Treasury, maybe Secretary of State, why the Secretary of Treasury was included, other than the fact that they seem to be including fucking everybody. And by the way, this is more than, they're more than this group. This group of 10, there were at least 8 more, he was saying, or so, including himself.
John Ratcliffe, Tulsi Gabbard, Stephen Miller, Steve Witkoff, Michael Waltz. How did you end up on this chat? And when do you realize it looks like you were added by mistake?
I was invited a couple of weeks ago to connect with Michael Waltz, the National Security Advisor. That didn't strike me as particularly strange, given my job and his job. A little while later, I'm added to a group chat with the people you just named. That seemed strange.
Michael Waltz, come on down. You're the next contestant.
But I kind of just ignored it a little bit. And then, it really became a very bizarre situation.
No pun intended, but my phone was blowing up with notifications about things that were blowing up.
On Saturday, the 15th of March, when I was shared on a text in this group from somebody purporting to be Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense. And this text contained operational military information, including the time that bombs were supposed to start dropping on Yemen. And this was 2 hours before that time. So I simply waited and stared at my phone. And sure enough, the American attack on Yemen began to be felt at about 1:30 Eastern or so, 1:50 Eastern. And that's when I realized that the chain was real. Until that point, I really had a deep suspicion that I was being spoofed or hoaxed.
Because no one could be this dumb. Ooh, yeah, they can. Yes. Pete Hegseth, this dumb. Walls, this dumb. Hashtag the best people.
Or being led astray on a disinformation campaign, the rationale for which I can't figure out. But this all seems so improbable that I simply assumed that
improbable is not the word. Stupid is the word.
Wouldn't be real.
And I want to point out, you share some details, you report some details of what unfolds on that text chain. When it comes to these operational details, though, you're very careful with your language. You write in your piece what appears to be from the account of Pete Hegseth posts, quote, operational details of forthcoming strikes on Yemen, including information about targets, weapons the U.S. would be deploying, an attack sequence.
On Signal, not an internal, next level White House proprietary text chain, whatever, on fucking Signal. I mean, at this point, why didn't they just use AOL online? Just send each other emojis.
This gets posted 2 hours later, the bombings begin, and then what do you see unfold on the group chat?
A lot of happiness and virtual high-fiving. There's some reporting.
Oh my God. It's as douchey as we think it is.
Again, material that I didn't feel comfortable reporting because it contained tactical operational information about the effects of the bombing on various places in Yemen. Mainly, it was the participants in this group chat, which, as you note, contain...
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I'm gonna. Oh my God. This is pathetic. Holy shit. And Michael Waltz right there, the one with the fist bump, American flag, and the fire, is the dude who let Jeffrey Goldberg into the group. John Ratcliffe, a good start. Good job, Pete and your team. Marco Rubio, you think? The team in MAL, Mar-a-Lago, did a great job as well, I guess. Down there at the bottom. Jesus Christ. It almost like it's distracting from what an actual breach this is, how actually dangerous, what a violation this is of just the normal safety practices for national security, right? It's a violation of that, but it's so douchey and lame that it's almost distracting from how serious it is.
Most of the national security leadership of the United States congratulating each other and sending emojis, flag emojis, muscle emojis, fire emojis to each other in celebration of a successful mission.
We did hear from Brian Hughes. I know you did as well, the spokesman for the National Security Council, who sent a statement in response when you did reach out. He said that it appears the message thread was authentic, that they're reviewing how an inadvertent number, presumably yours, was added.
I know. Waltz invited him, like it says in the fucking piece. I don't know. How's the investigation going? I'm on paragraph 5. Get the fuck out of here.
Also says, quote, the thread is a demonstration of the deep and thoughtful
emojis.
Policy coordination between senior officials.
I don't even know why you wrote something. Why didn't you just go like double barrel, middle fingers, fire, I don't know, eggplant emoji, water splash.
The ongoing success of the Houthi operation demonstrates that there were no threats to our service members or our national security. Jeff, you have reported on national security for decades, that this is being held up as an example of a deep and thoughtful policy coordination. Had you ever seen anything like this before?
This, I mean, outside of like, you know, checking your son's phone to see who he's texting with when he's 14.
I don't disagree with something that he said. If you look at the story in theatlantic.com, you'll see that they are having a live debate, including the Vice President of the United States, about the utility of attacking Yemen.
But Mike is correct. We are the only ones on the planet on our side of the ledger who can do this. Nobody else even close. Question is timing. I feel like now is a good time as any, given POTUS directive to reopen shipping lanes. I think we should go, but POTUS still retains 24 hours of decision space. As I heard it, the president was clear, green light, but we soon make clear to Egypt and Europe what we expect in return. We also need to figure out how to enforce such a requirement. Example, if Europe doesn't remunerate, then what? If the U.S. successfully restores freedom of navigation at great cost, there needs to be some further economic gain extracted in return. Like this isn't thoughtful. It's them turning it into a fucking protection racket.
The European component of this and various other things. There's interesting discourse going on, but
look at Pete Hegseth, VP. I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic in all caps.
Everything I understand, they're not supposed to be doing this on commercial messaging apps.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably not a good idea.
Got quite lucky that they included my phone number. They're going to pick an errant phone number.
Yeah, and not Sergei Lavrov's.
At least it wasn't somebody who supported the Houthis, because they were actually handing out information that I believe could have endangered the lives of American service people who were involved in that operation.
I guess the question here too, Jeff, is what don't we know? How many other group chats are there? Do you know how frequently Signal is used as this kind of, in this way at that level?
We don't know that. I am under the impression from administrations prior to this administration that Signal is often used by national security officials, but mainly as a planning device. What time is the meeting? That sort of thing. I have never in my life seen a commercial messaging app used to discuss whether and when and how to attack another country.
Yeah, but you've also never seen a group of people this fucking stupid. So there's that. Thanks for that, Andrea. Thanks for passing that along. Good God. And the weak sauce response to this, I suppose, what's the upside? We get to see Glenn Beck running cover for him. I do say that the one silver lining to a lot of these things when they do happen is that you get to watch all the normal suck-ups start putting chapstick on so that they don't chap his ass with their lips. Now, let's see. Oh, God, it's so fucking embarrassing. By the way, like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Patreon.com/HalSparks, Super Chats, and there's the Venmo thingy. If you want to support the show, buy me a cup of coffee, yabbada, yabbada, yabbada. Now, oh, and there's a couple of Super Chats already. What was this? Oh, thank you, Treva. Been a member for nearly... hold on, did it come up? Hold on. Where is it? There it is. Been a member for nearly 4 years. From the beginning. Thank you so much. And Blue Voter says, appreciate all you do, Hal. Thank you very much. And Marianne, thank you, Hal, for getting me through this madness. Well, it helps to be slightly mad myself, And, they say it takes a thief to catch a thief. Well, when the world is insane, come to a nutty person. Hello. I'm kidding. Actually, like the irony that I'm painfully stable in so many ways. So as to be vanilla. Although I will say that in defense of the word vanilla, if you drink direct like vanilla extract, it's a hallucinogen. Don't do it. It's also completely unsafe, but it's intoxicating at some point. So I'm intoxicatingly vanilla. It's the intoxicatingly vanilla is the far too white version of sexual chocolate. If I do say so my damn self. All right, now let's jump back into this nonsense. This is Newsmax throwing shade at Laura.
We're going to start with this report here. President Trump not so happy with Fox News lately.
Aw.
A recent spat of combative interviews and harsh criticism by Fox personalities.
Yeah, combative, meaning they asked him 2 questions in a row.
Our president have left many MAGA loyalists furious. Trump is no fan of that network.
Real quick, aren't you on a competing network, and shouldn't I take that with a grain of salt that you're actually trying to manipulate their viewers into jumping ship or telling your viewers that you are, more aligned with... I'm just saying, it sounds like a bunch of shit.
And has noticed this happening to him just this week. In fact, the president took to Truth Social to Jackie Heinrich, laid the hammer on her. She's the senior Fox News White House correspondent. His Truth Social post said, and quote, I watched Jackie Heinrich from the Fox weekend show, and I thought she was absolutely terrible.
I'm glad he's working. While Hegseth is leaking national security plans, Trump's at Mar-a-Lago over the weekend watching fucking Fox in the mornings.
She should be working for CNN, not Fox. Not surprisingly, I later found out that she's a fan of the White House Correspondents Association.
She's a member of the White House Correspondents Association. She has reporters that are a part of it, and she also oversees them, I guess, as part of her job.
Fox News host Laura Ingraham also...
excuse me, it's pronounced Laura Ingraham. Just trying to make them nervous.
The attack, grilling President Trump.
Seen here describing Trump's penis. She got a glimpse of it going into the pool, interestingly enough. I'm kidding. She's reenacting an exchange she had with Tucker Carlson.
Interview that surprised...
where they both talked about Trump's penis.
Many of the viewers here. Let's take a look at it.
You're tougher with Canada than you are with some
Only
of
because-
our biggest adversaries.
Only
Why?
because it's meant to be our 51st state. And
Okay,
but
but we need-
but listen to this for a
We
second.
need their territory. They have territorial advantage. We're not
One
going to
of
let
the
them
most-
get close to China.
We have a
What's the
very
end
big deficit with Canada, and
60
there's
billion.
no reason, much more. We have much more.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that was so good. I don't think so. Not only did she interrupt him, talk over him, disagree with him, but she did it while being a woman.
And guess what? Democrat media, they were quick to praise Ingraham for her line of attack, while at the same time, the president's supporters have been critical right back at her. This ex-post saying Laura Ingraham was...
Really? So we're citing Johnny MAGA's X account? So, real quick, back when CNN started playing people's tweets and some of their Facebook updates, you know, about a decade ago or more, it was like ringing the dinner bell for both internet trolls, the Baba Booey crowd, and the like pranksters, and foreign influencers who realize all you got to do is set up an account called, I don't know, Johnny fucking MAGA, and some dipshit will put it on the air as a real account worthy of paying attention to. Maybe this is, it could be that this is the host's burner account on X. But otherwise, how do you know this isn't just like the CCP running a bank of fucking computers and this is just one of the many attack points it uses?
Combative tonight with Trump. Not a good look. And it doesn't stop there either. Fox.
Really? I thought if you're going to dedicate a story to this whole thing, I thought maybe it did stop there.
The anti-Trump strategy.
Trump strategy? I know. Happens to anybody. It's the Trump strategy. This guy's a professional. He speaks for a living. Hold on.
Look. And it doesn't stop there either. Fox's anti-Trump strategy.
Strategy.
It spilled over to the president's team as well. Let's watch.
You can call Weissman names, and he can call you names, and that's what's great about living in America.
This is a tit for tat with Weissman. This is a tit for tat with Weissman. I will defend American lives working for President Trump, and Andrew Weissman can defend illegal alien rapists, terrorists, and predators.
100%.
If that's what he wants to fill in his lot with, then good
argue.
for him. I've chosen my side. Americans have chosen their side. And
yeah, but again, I don't even know why I want to get in the middle of this, because fuck them, they can run interference, against each other all the time. But the problem that most of us have is that we don't know who's being put on these planes, and when asked, there's a whole bunch of trust me, bro. And in a couple of cases, it's very clear that these were not criminal aliens, and in some cases may have been people with legit visas or green cards. But there's no way of verifying, and they're being sent to foreign prisons where God knows what the fuck's going to happen to them. Extrajudicially, without any kind of a review, to make sure they're who you say they are. If they're really these monsters, then why wouldn't you want? I don't know why you wouldn't want to fucking parade them like Hamas does with hostages.
President Trump has chosen the side of fiercely defending the American people.
Against very possibly other American people who haven't done anything wrong. Trust me, bro.
First thought it was just about trade. Then they thought it was just about fentanyl. Then after that, we talked about, well, maybe it's currency manipulation.
Or it could just be bullshit, Maria. How do you have a problem like Maria?
Maybe it's now you're talking about food testing. And when I bring up
what a lovely singing voice you must have.
Issue of clarity, that's what I'm talking about, and that's what I'm hearing from corporate America.
He cites some previous.
By the way, that was brutal. How dare she go? The first thing, you said your reasoning behind this tariff thing was this, and we're just trying to find some clarity for corporate America. I mean, she might as well just come out and go, why haven't you released all the Epstein files? Is it because you're all over them?
Rulings dealing with enemy combatants in wartime, says that even they have a challenge or a right to challenge their detention in court. He raised concern also that while TDA has been designated as a terrorist organization, these individuals hadn't been prosecuted for terrorism.
Combative indeed there.
Oh my God. How do you even ask these questions? I'm Bob Brooks, and we can't let that happen, all right? You don't say those things to anyone in Donald Trump's vicinity because he gets very upset. And when Daddy gets upset, we end up with eating macaroni and cheese off the floor, and there's wine all over the walls. I don't like it.
Outlets are already noting the uncivil war between Fox and the White House.
Uncivil? Dude, they didn't strap on fucking bayonets. Simmer down. That was the most, I swear to God, all the questions and stuff that they're showing look like Laura Ingraham's, Laura Ingraham, I can't even say her name, not comedically, whatever. Her interview seemed like a like a 60 Minutes interview with John Patrick Moynihan or fucking Ford or something back in the 70s or 80s. You know what I mean? And the rest of them were just kind of standard. You said this, and then this is happening. What's your response? And in one case, the lady who was the most mad about the Jacqui lady, Jacqui, her question was one of these, some people are saying, how do you answer what they're saying? Which allows, by the way, Fox, Newsmax, and all these guys do this all the time, tee the question up in correspondence with the White House. They're saying this, what's your response? When they've already coordinated what the response will be. The problem is that the White House is a fucking mess and nobody's coordinating messaging. They just have her open Caroline Levitt or whatever, the spokesperson, they keep having her yell, a list of accomplishments at the beginning of it and then free ball the rest of it.
Saying that Fox owner billionaire Rupert Murdoch has declared political war on Trump. In fact, Murdoch's comments, not really a surprise. After the 2020 election, Murdoch sent an email to Fox leadership stating that his goal was to make Trump into a non-person. Hard feelings clearly remain between the White House and Fox, as we are witnessing. Fox also opposed Trump in the 2016 primary, and the president believes that their coverage and news anchoring by the likes of Chris Wallace and others cost him the 2020 election.
I thought it was stolen from him.
That is not a comprehensive plan.
That is absolutely a big thing. That was the worst part of Obamacare.
Sir,
Chris,
you're
that was the
debating him,
worst
not
part of
me.
Obama.
Let me ask my question.
Well, I'll ask Joe. The individual mandate was the most unpopular aspect of Obamacare. I got rid of it.
I'd like you
and we will protect
Mr.
people
President,
with
I'm the
pre-existing
moderator of this
conditions.
debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question, and then you can answer your
ahead.
question.
Yeah, terrible. Oh, my God. When did he get out of the hospital?
Fox's leadership still remains strongly opposed to President Trump as well. Former House Speaker, remember him, Paul Ryan? He's been critical of President Trump.
Unfit for office. That's how one Republican described.
Okay, anyways, this is just Newsmax trying to suck up to what's left of MAGA before it collapses and wring every last dollar out of it. So shall we jump ahead? You're watching HAL Sparks Mega Worldwide. Let's leap over to this because this is fucking... I'm going to talk about embarrassing. Holy God. Trump economist predicts wonderful things to celebrate. National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassert breaks down Trump's latest economic moves and the impact of Doge on Maria.
Welcome back. Here's a look at remark.
By the way, does she have more shows? They've rewarded her with other shows. And by the way, you don't have to be rich to be my girl, Maria.
It's ended the week after the Federal Reserve left interest rates unchanged, but Chairman Jay Powell signaled 2 rate cuts this year.
He signaled them? He signaled them. Right.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent also telling me this week that the economy is healthy and he sees no reason for a recession.
No.
This as President Trump is touting new tariffs in a post on Truth Social, writing April 2nd is Liberation Day in America.
Yeah, that's about finally we're going to have equal trade with other countries, even though we have a much bigger economy than theirs. They couldn't possibly, if they used every dime they had, buy as much stuff from us as we buy from them.
Of course, April 2nd is when the reciprocal tariffs will come. But results of a new Fox News poll show only 28% of those surveyed believe tariffs are going to be helpful.
And by the way, those people, the 28%, were they drooling when asked these questions? I'm fairly certain.
Help the U.S. economy, while 53% say they think they will hurt. Joining me now is...
Fucking public education, man. It's why Trump loves the poorly educated. And it's the damn education system that gives him numbers like that.
House National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett. Kevin, great to have you this weekend.
Hey,
Thank
Maria.
you for being here. And what do you say to those American citizens?
By the way, since Mitch McConnell has retired, is this the new turtle on Capitol Hill?
Yup. I'm wearing a green tie today. Hop up. We're going to have a lot to celebrate. As long as I can get a slice of lettuce.
To convince them that these tariffs ultimately...
Sorry, I'm also apologize to everyone if you're overwhelmed by the amount of alpha male coming out of the White House right now. It's a little much. A little bit of toxic masculinity happening here. Easy on the roids, dude.
be beneficial in the end.
Right. The only thing that we need to do to be convinced that the tariffs are going to work is to just look at the data that we already have. So what's been going on
before they've gone into effect?
The president has promised that there's going to be tariffs in April. And what's happened is ahead of April, already in February, we're seeing a massive explosion in industrial production here in the U.S. In fact, we just got data this week that said that auto production in February was up 8.5%. That's not an annual rate. That's 8.5% in a single month.
Down 5.3 in January, up 8.5%. So up 3% based on maybe the possibility that loan prices were going to go down, and then they didn't.
In perspective, under Joe Biden's failed policies, it dropped 7.8% in an entire year last year. And so what's happening is that domestic production is advancing at a rate.
Sorry. So it's up 8.5% against that drop. So you do realize that, say you have a unit of 10 and it drops 1%, you now have a unit of 9. If you have a rise by 1% of that, you don't go back to 10, you go up 1% from the 9. Gotcha. And if you're already at the top of something, going down 7% on something that's overtly high, and then going up 8% of the lowered amount is not a recovery over, you're not 101%. This is why they talk percentages and they don't give actual numbers alongside them, like the per unit price or the per unit sales numbers.
At rapid rate. And what that's doing is it's putting more money in people's pockets because they've got jobs and they've got high-paying auto jobs. And so the idea that the tariffs are going to be a negative for the economy.
Hold on. So, sorry, within a month they have high-paying auto jobs and that's making them go on a spending spree? Simmer.
Is something that's pushed by the mainstream media to people, and certainly it's going to affect their sentiment until they see the actions of the people, the economic actors that are responding to the tariffs. And so if you watch the data,
he's got sniffles too. He's got a stuffed up nose. You can hear it. I can hear it.
Have really, really wonderful things to celebrate.
So we have to wait and watch. But I guess, Kevin, we are now entering what's called pre-announcement season, where we hear
announcement season. So we're before the announcement of the thing that isn't happening when the announcement happens, but will happen later after the announcements. So, aren't we always in pre-announcement season then?
Pre-announcements from corporations who are about to report their first quarter earnings. The quarter is almost over, and this week we saw FedEx plummet. FedEx saying that the parcel delivery company is lowering its full-year guidance for a third consecutive quarter. They're citing inflation and uncertain demand for shipments because of the uncertainty around tariffs.
Yeah, that I don't know if anybody look at Friday. Fuck me. Look, what is that? Jesus Christ. That was like, oh, we got some bad news today. That must have been the earnings call.
What do you want to say to some of these companies like a FedEx or even Nike? Nike also worried about tariffs.
They all have the same fucking number. They all have the same drop. Friday for the earnings call? Is that what it is? Or this is maybe that's the end of market on Friday, and this is just the weekend sales over the course of it. But Jesus Christ, I mean, maybe extend it out. Is this weekends with Maria? But no, this is her other show. When the fuck is this Wall Street? Right? When is this nonsense on?
Obviously getting products from China. And, we may see these companies be forced to raise prices. So what about that? The pre-announcement season seems...
Yeah, no, everybody dumped on Friday, I guess.
Beginning in an ugly way, Kevin.
Well, there are going to be a lot of really big positive stories.
Yeah, they're going to be. We're in pre-announcement of the big positive stories, but just count on them. Bank on them. You can invest in companies that are shitting the bed right now, and you won't lose money.
Seasons as well. But the thing to think about the data, and this would be something with regard to FedEx.
Yeah. In regard to gulp.
Maria, I remember you came down to Washington for the inauguration, right? Do you remember how cold it was? It was
Absolutely.
crazy cold.
Yes.
And so in January and February, there was unseasonably cold weather. And
I see. So, okay, we'll just go back and look at FedEx's January and February numbers every year. And I guess there's a big drop off whenever it gets super cold. They haven't been around that long, so we won't be able to track that data, I guess.
An unseasonably bad flu season. And all...
What? Sorry, what? Excuse me, Mr. Plandemic. Flu. Get the fuck out of here. What flu? What are you working for Big Pharma now? You want us all to get the jab for the economy?
The data releases talk about the January and February, which we, by the way, more or less inherited from Joe Biden because our policies weren't even in place then. And so I think that there will be perhaps some negative earnings.
No, people stopped buying things because they were concerned. They all rushed up to buy a bunch of shit right up to Trump's inauguration, figuring that his tariffs would make equipment and other shit more expensive, and they were right.
Prizes for people who had to move stuff around like FedEx in a season where there's really, really bad weather and lots of flu.
Yeah, the economy was snowed out. Thanks, dummy.
The fundamentals of the economy are super strong.
They are super strong, which is like stupid and strong together. They were super strong. They're like super strong. Isn't that what Hegseth yells before he lifts at the gym? I'm super strong.
And lots of flu. But the fundamentals of the economy are super strong. We're seeing industrial production skyrocket. Like the number this week is the highest ever, Maria.
Look, you also have companies
Well, that was an edit.
wondering if they're going to be the next company to face a government contract that is being eliminated. You saw what happened to Accenture. But that brings me to the Doge cuts and you and your colleagues looking under every rock to try to figure out where the waste, fraud, and abuse is. What have you learned, Kevin?
Yeah, I got to say that as the National Economic Council director, one of my jobs is to coordinate the economic policy activities of the economic cabinet agencies. And I've been meeting.
Sorry, I apologize for everybody who had to hear that. All the dick shriveling and vaginas drying up that just this kind of language causes. It's rough. You'll recover. Don't worry. It's already dry as far as information and delivered in this weird turtley fashion. It makes it even worse. I apologize.
Having regular lunches with.
I don't know why honest to God, they don't have Kid Rock running around in the background on a riding lawnmower that, has got flame coming out of the back of it that has Trump flags all over it. That would spice this shit up.
Cabinet secretaries and going into what's happening with them. And I just met with Kelly Loeffler at the Small Business Administration yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, one of those days. It doesn't really matter.
And what we were looking at was just all the bad loans that the Biden people were shoveling out the door. And there were really incredible horror stories of big $1 million loans going to people who are more than 100 years old and $1 million loans going to people who are less than 10 years old. And
well then name and shame. I guess those are illegal and you've got proof of those and you'll be getting that money back. And I look forward to the legal cases, I guess, right?
Not even, any attempt to figure out whether the loan could ever be paid back. And so the Biden administration.
Yeah, that's the Small Business Administration. If they could get regular loans that would guarantee the success of these businesses, they would get them elsewhere. That's why it's the lender of last resort.
Stopped looking at the loans and thinking whether like a local bank might be willing to fund that thing, which is historically what they would do in the Small Business Administration. There's a complete mess, which Kelly is way ahead of the curve cleaning up. But everywhere we look, if you think of your
everywhere
model of Joe Biden as he wasn't all there, well, that's the model you should have of everybody who is running one of his cabinet agencies. They weren't all there.
Well, then these were mistakes and it was, I guess, waste, but not fraud and abuse.
And the thing just ran amok. And
it just ran on its own. The SBA just handed out loans.
There's a heck of a lot to clean up, but what it means, it's really good news because we're cleaning it up.
It's a heck of a lot.
And it's going to end up making it so the taxpayers waste way less money than they have been on things that we don't.
Yeah, dozens of millions of dollars that we'll find out later were just priority based, and that the programs that the loans that went out weren't to children and babies, but were focused on a loan for a company that focuses on, newborns under the age of 10 years old. That's the purpose of the loan, not who took it out.
What they were, and instead we're going to do it. We're going to spend money on the things that we need to spend money on, and we're going to give people big tax cuts with what's left over.
Yeah, with what's left over.
Well, I mean, it's incredible to me, Kevin, that even in the Social Security rolls, we found all of those people. Well, Elon Musk and his team found, all of those people.
They didn't find them. Everybody knows they're on those rolls. They also know they're not really alive, and they don't get checks.
Claim to be 200 years old.
They don't claim to be 200 years old.
150 years old.
They don't claim to be 150 years old.
They're still on the Social Security rolls now.
Right, but they're not getting checks.
Know if they were actually receiving money.
They were not.
But they may very well have been eligible for all of the benefits of Social Security.
Oh, that's $2 billion less than what's on the website. So Fox is, again, taking a swipe.
They were getting small business loans, these people. And so it's one of the things that we started a process yesterday. I want the taxpayers to know, under the direction of the president.
Starting the process.
Started a process.
We're going to start the process.
Where we at the National Economic Council are going to coordinate all the cabinet agencies to see if the same person who's hundreds of years old getting Social Security is the person who's hundreds of years old who's getting a small business loan and is hundreds of years old getting loans from the EPA for green this and that. Because we think that there's going to be a heck of a lot of overlap in this.
Great. Have you found any overlap? And again, what are you going to do? If you're afraid you're going to give somebody who's 107 a heart attack if you talk about it on the air? I got to say, it looks like they're taking advantage of sort of like details or data that is in an old computer system that is not acted on, but there are legal reasons why it has to freeze in place in case a person is declared dead later and their children or whatever should have gotten their Social Security, so therefore they're still in the rolls until they can be, expunged from those rolls legally at some point in the future. Just saying.
And I think in the end, there'll probably be referrals to the Justice Department.
Great. Why in the end? Why do you need more than one overlap? Why do you even need an overlap? If somebody's 130 years old and they're getting an SBA loan, or they're a 10-month-old baby, throw that baby in jail. Because seriously, I'm going to guess that there was a fault in how birth dates are done in some of these cases, and the default, but depending on the outfit, which state does it versus the federal government, it either starts at 100 by accident, so the person is, if they're 132, they're actually 32 or 31 years old, depending, and that the 10-month-old is when it defaults to 0 in some of these systems, and there's just going to be a fucking trombone womp play when Doge is like, look how much money we save before the robots take over, and nope.
Unbelievable. Well,
right, I agree, Maria. Unbelievable, not as in not believable.
That sounds right. Referral.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, criminal referrals to the.
Yeah. Throw that 10-month-old baby in fucking jail. Look. Innocent babies need to be born, whether the woman wants to have a baby or not, and whether she was forced to get pregnant or anything. It doesn't matter. That baby, as soon as it's born, it's a legal human being with rights and responsibilities. Either it gets to work or it goes to jail. Throw that baby in prison.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
That'd be my expectation.
Kevin, real quick before you go.
Oh, dear.
Given that we are seeing some expectations that we're in a slowdown, the consumer slowing down, do you have any expectations that we will see a recession this year? Do you worry about that slowdown?
No. I don't worry about that slowdown. I'm a millionaire surrounded by billionaires. Slow down. Eat me.
I get paid to worry, but the data that we have in hand are really strong. The consumption numbers are still positive for the first quarter. The capital spending
for the first quarter, because everybody in the first quarter before Trump came in was buying everything they could possibly buy from overseas before the tariffs went into effect. And by the way, they're going to use that as well. That's why he pushed it to April 1st, because he wants the numbers for the first quarter to look gangbusters, because everybody's like, oh shit, they're really going to kick in on April 2nd. So he's forcing everybody to buy a bunch of stuff, front load their purchases, which guarantees, by the way, that later in the year, you're going to trigger a drop, and because everybody pre-bought a bunch of shit they were going to need as far as materials and electronic devices and shit they'd need to buy from overseas. They're going to buy it early to get around the tariffs, whether the tariffs happened or not, and they're already going to have purchased it. So by the time the fall comes around, they might have paced some of their shit over the course of a year, buying stuff by quarter, but they just kind of threw everything they had into buying it right away, farm equipment and all that kind of shit. So by the time the fall comes around, it's going to be a dip because that he fucking manufactured. And then it'll be Biden's fault that nobody can afford a tractor in fucking October.
Are through the roof. It's a booming capital spending sector.
A booming capital spending sector, because of the promise of tax cuts.
And so my current number is about 2.5 for the first quarter, which is lower than we're going to see in the rest of the year when Trump policies are in place. But
so anything good happens in the first quarter is all Biden? And I guess if anything bad that happens is his. I guess the good part is his too.
Of a sort of not so bad hangover from the terrible Biden policies.
All right, we will leave it there. Kevin, always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Yeah, it's not the bullshit with the tariffs that have thrown the fucking monkey wrench into the stock market and buying in general across the board. It's leftover Biden spending that put too much money into things, and it's just so fucking lame. Good Lord. By the way, you're watching HAL, SPARKS, Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Hi, everybody. There we go. I will, by the way, tomorrow I do have an event at the Whiskey, but I am going to do a regular show because I don't have to sing tomorrow night. And even though my throat needs some rest, I will still be able to do the show and then make it to there because I don't have to do sound check and all that kind of stuff in theory. So regular show tomorrow for the record, and hopefully. And we're all right too. Are we not buffering or anything? Everything look okay? Just saying. We just checking in with you guys. All right, everything's gonna be fine, right? Right? All right. Then okay. We're okay. Everything's looking fairly smooth. Hi, Alexa. What's happening? Vince, hello. What type of database do they use? Well, it's different for every agency because they have different oversight groups and they go through their spending at different times and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot. No buffering, excellent. Hey! So, by the way, not only are we doing a computer upgrade here at the house in LA so that when I'm here, the show is smoother, I upgraded the Wi-Fi as well. So that's the thing I had to... It hadn't finished updating when you install a new Wi-Fi router and it has to go through like a firmware update. It hadn't done that when I started the show earlier. I thought it had, but it had not completed it. So it was cycling through, and that's what threw everything into a cocktail. So we're fine, I think, now. So that's smooth. Excellent. And then next up, the Mac Mini. We got a Mac Mini for back here in the house. It's the base model, little Mac Mini, but it should be fine for me to use for Ecamm and for OBS for when I'm doing the show. It's always something. It's always something. I've always been using my laptop when I come to do the show here, and it's adorable, this laptop. It's a great laptop, but it cooks. Like, it heats up so much when I'm doing it that I have it currently. The laptop is sitting on top, and Rob Glenn, if he's watching, will love this. I have it sitting on top of a defunct ring light that I have. It broke. One of the guys kicked over the wire to it, so it pulled it loose. I know I can resolder it, but is it worth it? And so I literally, because it's just a big ring, I just set the laptop on top of it, and it allows air to go through, and works fine. Seems to be helping. I'm doing my best. So, let's see. Let me scroll down here and see. Man, the chat room's going quick. And by the way, thank you for the super chats. Also, Friday, Patreons. We have a live stream of the comedy show. Comedy show. So look out for that. Is it a George Foreman laptop? Yes, it is. You're doing your bat best. It is true. Same bat time, same bat channel. I'll be watching you from all the way from Ventura, California. Well, it's not worth the drive, I don't think, at that time of the night. A small fan. Well, look, every fan counts. I don't think of certain people as big fans or small fans. You're all equal in my eyes. All right. So now let's jump into this. And I'm obviously we won't get through all of this today, but can I just show you, like, when you want to talk about like a mouth-breathing wreck, look at Trump's fucking eyebrows. For real. Like, kudos for letting your hair go gray 80% of the time or whatever it is. But his eyebrows, I mean, he looks like a crazy old man, scary guy at the end of the block in an old kids movie. Look at those fucking things. It's frightening, and you could tell he's like not interested. And does anybody else want to say something? I'm over it. Here we go.
Thank you very much for being here. We had a very, very good cabinet meeting.
I've got little notes in front of me. It's a very good cabinet meeting. It just started, but it's going to be great. It's good because everyone is here and seated like they're supposed to. My glass has a coaster on top of it as well as on the bottom of it. It doesn't fit the glass, which makes me feel cheap, but
our way to some tremendous numbers, I think.
On our way to some tremendous numbers. We're in pre-announcement of the tremendous numbers.
First of all, many companies are now moving into the United States. They're coming back. Some of them left us from many years ago, decades ago, and they're all coming back. We have probably identified maybe $4 trillion worth of companies moving back or going to move back.
Over the course of 10 years, which is fairly common.
And many of them have announced it's going to be tremendous jobs, high-paying jobs, too.
Yes, especially these big automated car factories that have 14 people working in them.
And you probably know the chip business, not because of the CHIPS Act, which...
Directly because of the CHIPS Act.
Disaster. You gave billions of dollars to...
Didn't give it to them. Loan guarantee to seed money so they would get started. They have to pay it back. We make interest on it.
Companies that already have many billions of dollars, they said thank you very much. It was no incentive for them to use it.
Then why did they use it?
But what is good is the tariffs will make it so that they want to come back. That's why they're coming back.
No, they aren't. You didn't put tariffs on fucking computer chips, and you're not going to put tariffs on computer chips we need for national defense, fucko. What are you talking about? What sense does, if you're going to make a carve out in tariffs for fucking anything, you'd think it would be, to try to file off the top of my head, you'd think it would be stuff we needed for national security. They're moving here because of the Chips and Science Act, and because during the pandemic, the recognition that we were relying on chips that if there was a collapse in shipping or if China attacked Taiwan, they would, they could literally do it just to cut us off. Even if they don't want Taiwan, they could attack Taiwan just to stop us from getting the chips we would need in a protracted war or in, any kind of general advance in our technological advancements that we need those chips to keep ahead of everybody. They could stymie the shipping of those things or the production of those things by surrounding Taiwan, all these. So that decision was made under the Chips and Science Act, and specifically because of the supply chain interruptions that we experienced because of COVID and the lessons learned from that. That's what it's from. Nobody was going to fucking tariff chips we need for fucking guidance systems and nuclear weapons, dummy.
I think they're coming back because of the election that took place on November 5th and because of the fact that they have to come back because the tariffs are forcing them to come back.
Yeah, you're not going to tariff fucking computer chips like that.
And remember, there are no tariffs if you build here, and that's a big factor. So we have record numbers. Howard was just telling me the numbers that we're talking about are crazy, beyond anybody's wildest expectation.
That's because no one there has wild expectations. They set the bar stupidly low just so you can feel like you're winning. Also, these are Biden's gains.
So they'll be doing a lot of building, all sorts of businesses, including the basics of automobiles.
The basics of automobiles. Fuzzy dice, bucket seats, fine Corinthian leather.
We have, as you know, Honda is coming in with a massive plant to Indiana, but there are many plants that are happening, and literally some are started already. General Motors.
Literally some are started already. Yeah, there have been Toyota plants in Tennessee for a long time. There's been a Honda plant in California, I think it's in Hawthorne or someplace, for a long time. Yeah, you're right. There have been foreign car companies building their cars in the United States for a long time.
Already redoing plants.
They're redoing plants.
That were half abandoned, or they have plants that weren't being fully utilized.
Half abandoned. No one goes into that side of the factory. Why not? Well, late at night it becomes so dark, and you can hear the crying of the wolves. The old abandoned half a Ford plant. Soon we have a hunter coming in to drive out the flesh eaters so that we can reclaim the other half.
They're going to be, they and others are going to be making parts and other things in those plants.
Yeah, parts and other things. I guess what would be the other thing from parts? The whole car? Isn't everything a part until it becomes... Parts and other things. Parts and other things. All right, sure. All right. Oh, that's good. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So that it's one-stop shopping finally. It's ridiculous.
So it's one-stop shopping. Yeah, so you can buy your whole car from one dealership instead of... I hated you had to drive all over town to different dealerships and get the wheels in one place and the...
You had to go to Mexico, you had to go to Canada, a car went all over the place. It was like, I don't know how that would have worked, but that's...
Yeah, they didn't... they didn't assemble the car and then send it down to get tires put on it in Mexico and then drive it to fucking Canada and get the windshield put in, dipshit. The stuff would come here and then they would assemble it in the plants, which is why you gave the steel... them a break on steel, stupid. They didn't drive to a Canadian steel plant and have them pour metal over the chassis.
It sort of ended up, we had a deal and...
It did, it sort of ended up.
Have a deal, it's fine, but people took advantage of the deal, they cheated. And when you cheat, the deals are unfortunate, but now...
Yeah, I agree. That's, well, I mean, that's what Marla told him, and Ivana. And Melania just shrugs it off.
What's happening is the numbers are beyond our wildest expectations. Now, having to do with cutting.
Yeah, please get on with the cutting.
Done a lot of cutting from people, ideally the people that aren't doing the job.
Ideally, but not in all cases. Sometimes we're cutting from people who are doing a good job and are doing the job that needs to be done. But ideally, we want to cut from that, but we're really not idealists around here.
In many cases, people weren't attending jobs. In some cases...
They weren't attending their jobs? That's what we all do. Honey, where are you going? Oh, I'm attending work today. Oh, all right.
In many cases, people didn't exist. They had on the government rolls people that don't even exist. But of the ones that did exist, as you know, many didn't come to work. Many had no intention of coming to work.
Did you talk to him? Fuck this. I'm not coming to work. Yeah, but you have to get paid and get stuff done. I don't care. I have no intention of going to work. Are you nuts? Why would you write this in an email? Because whatever. The Biden administration pays me even if I don't work. That's what I'm doing. My job is not working. Don't attend work. That's what my job description is.
Many were paid and working someplace else. There were lots of bad scenarios, but they're being weeded out, and I think we're probably ahead of schedule on that. And to me, something that was just terrible is the contracts that we're finding, the fraudulent contracts that we're finding where...
Yeah, the fraudulent contracts. Let's hear it.
Millions and millions of dollars, and even billions of dollars in some cases, were given out. And I think we'll start with that. I'd like to start with Doug Burgum, Secretary of the Interior. He told us about a couple of contracts that we have now found.
Yeah, you found them.
He got there. They saw this with Chris and everybody, and they
totally
couldn't believe it. Doug, could you
couldn't
just
believe
relate
it.
What you told us a little while ago?
No, happy to, Mr. President. There's a federal consulting group, which was a group inside of Interior, but it was
a federal consulting group that was inside Interior, which sounds like a double negative or something, but it's not.
Contracts from many different agencies that flowed through here. One of those contracts was to do surveys of individuals.
Okay, one of them was surveys under this polling thing inside the... So in this whole program of polling, whatever, one of them of those subgroups, so a subgroup of a subgroup, so the entirety of the money spent on the polling part of it, if this one part of it is shitty, is a waste. Gotcha, okay.
$830 million for surveys. And so part of the question was, hey, could we actually see the surveys? And then the surveys came back, and a survey was like 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with 10 questions that anyone's child in junior high could have put together.
You seem to be confused about the idea that the survey itself is where all the work does, not the getting people to fill out the surveys, compiling all the responses, correcting for erroneous errors and fuck-arounds, and then doing it again. The actual process of the surveying in a bunch of different areas, of which this was one part, that the questions themselves aren't a big fucking mystery. It's the actual work. It's like the census going, why do we spend all this money on the census? And look at this booklet. Anybody can print this booklet. It's like with a printer, like it's got like 50 pages. How much does 50 pages cost to print out? Take the pictures out and we totally save on ink.
AI could have done for free, $830 million.
No.
So that's one that we've stopped. And that contract was going out after you were inaugurated, sir. So it was jumping.
It's a pure fraud.
Yeah.
It's a fraud. But
it's not a fraud.
We had many fraudulent contracts that were caught by the work that Elon and his people are doing.
Yes, there's a lot of fraudulent contracts that were caused by the work that Elon and his Doge guys are doing. Yes, we're finding tremendous fraud in what Doge is doing.
And working with our people. It's been brought to light that the fraud, not just waste and abuse, the fraud has been incredible. You mentioned one, Madam Secretary.
Well, yes, sir. Well, let me just add to that, and thank you. We just had a wonderful cabinet meeting. All
Jeez. AgSec.
aligned on certainly the effort to realign the government. But even at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, we've canceled a $300,000 contract educating on food justice for queer and transgender farmers in
$300,000.
Francisco. A similar contract we canceled in New York, again, educating transgender and queer farmers on food justice and food equality. I'm not even sure what that means, but apparently.
Let me guess, the $300,000 was for all those things, and it was for diversity and people learning how to farm, and they were taking non-traditional groups that might want to learn these things or grow up in city areas because we need more farmers, especially more American farmers, and they weren't just sending it out to the normal people that expected to do farming, like people that grew up in rural areas, but also outreaching doing outreach through different groups, and this was one part of a 5-part system. Also, you could just be making it up.
The last administration wanted to put our taxpayer dollars towards that. We canceled a $600,000 contract out of Louisiana that was studying the menstrual cycles of transgender men, a $600,000 contract.
$600,000 contract. I'm going to go with grant. We didn't contract that work out.
Canceled another contract out of a university in the middle of the country.
Out of a contract with a university in the middle of the country. I think you mean flyover territory?
That focused on getting more diversity, equity, and inclusion into our pest management industry. Again, these are nonsensical. It makes zero sense to use.
Or you could just say that we're basically saying that a lot of, in the middle of the country and in the South, a lot of like black entrepreneurs or Hispanic entrepreneurs or gay people who are starting a business, reaching out and going, hey, we need more pesticide control services or pest control services. And if you guys are interested, we're going to reach out to you. Specifically, we're going to go to you. Also bullshit.
Dollars to fund these. I know these are just a few examples of the hundreds and hundreds that we have found.
Yeah, again, this is shit you disagree with. It's not fraud, it's not waste, it's not abuse.
A clear case of fraud was with the Small Business Administration, where they were
the Small Business Administration
out loans, $330 million worth of loans.
Take your fucking hat off, you're in the White House, asshole. Secondly, wear a suit. Apparently that's a thing.
People under the age of 11. I think the youngest, Kelly, was a 9-month-old.
Hold on. Okay, hold on. Let's see, where do we go? SBA loans to 9-month-old. Let's see. Doge uncovered $100,000 SBA loan to a 9-month-old. Has it happened? As you told about small business fraud, more than 30 lenders made SBA loans in quarter 4 2024. Totally under the business times was quarterly. Blah. Let's see if we can find news on that. $330 million SBA loan went to dead and infants Musk. Doge reveals. This is from The Street. $330 million in SBA loan went to kids in the dead, including a 9-month-old, sparking calls for blockchain to prevent future fraud and better conspiracy ID checks. Over $330 million of it were awarded, remain listed. Oh, sorry. Awarded to 115-year-olds who remain listed as alive, and Social Security revealed the Department of Government Efficiency. You're going to open that up. 1 second. Open background. The most alarming was garnered public attention. 9-month-old infant who received a loan of $100,000, according to this. Why is that the article? Hold on 1 second. Move this to airdrop. There we go. Done. Whoops. Elon Musk claims his life is under threat and unrelated token rallies. Okay. Let's see. Scroll to continue. I'm looking for the evidence. Doge on the verge of a breakout. That's the coin. Okay, they don't talk about that. That's a lie. Okay. No more loans to babies or people too old. The Friday requires date of birth to collect loan. Deposits a direct loan process for under 18, over 120. Basic sanity checks. There's initial stop. There's a bit of show more. Yeah, it seems like they are just changing the standard on filing forms without proving that there was anything actually there. Yeah, funny how there was no waste and fraud and abuse during Trump's administration. Maybe that's when these loans were awarded. What do you want to bet the loans, like the all these loans happened in like the first 6 that they're talking about, like babies and people over 120, were all during like the first 4 months of COVID under Trump. Also, hold on 1 second. I want to check this out where you guys can see it, if I may. 1 second. Musk claims 9-month-old loan, whatever. Here we go. Clear case cites $100,000 loan. The She World, no more loans to babies of the dead, says India Today, and no more loans to Economic Times. Says no more loans to Times of India. Real code policy. Trump was right about Trump's cabinet meeting shows us how powerful Elon Musk has become. Okay, Fox News. Let's take what they say. Here we go. Let's jump in and look at this guy. Doge says $312 million in loans were given to children during the COVID pandemic. Let me guess. While Trump was president. The Department of Government Efficiency, which is not a department, announced a further wave of contract terminations late Saturday, noting it also identified thousands of cases where more than 300 million loans were granted to children. Again, no evidence, just trust me, bro, so far. Announcements came as Doge said it identified the SBA granted nearly 5,600 loans for $312 million to borrowers whose only listed owner was 11 years old or younger at the time of the loan. The loans were issued 2020 and 2021 while the world struggled with COVID-19, and it is unclear what they were used for. While it's possible to have business arrangements where this is legal, it's highly unlikely for those loans, as they're also used an SSN with the incorrect name. Doge and SBA.gov are working together to solve this problem. So this happened during Trump mainly, is what we're going to say. And then they were signed up for and finalized in the last run because it was a part of the initial financial support stuff, all the bullshitters that jumped on the original rescue package under Trump. When the announcement began, borrowers were still marked, when it revealed that in 2020-21, they issued 3,095 loans for $330 million to borrowers over 115 years old. The borrowers were still marked as alive in the Social Security database. In one case, a 157-year-old received $36,000 in loans. Loans included PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, and EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster Loans. Trump's addressed it again during Trump's presidency the first time around. Okay, they joke about the age. Doge said they canceled a department contract worth $10 million that was ironically initiated for identifying unnecessary contracts. The cost saving aid, and by the way, that's an oversight thing. That $10 million might save you $100 million. That's kind of the point. Okay, cost saving agency said termination was 162 non-essential contacts. Okay, blah blah blah. Meanwhile, a small group of Republicans. Will they reach the thing? Toss up by July 4th? No. They're confident they'll get to $1 trillion. Where is this? Honest to God, where's the list on this? Maybe it's possible to have business arrangements where this is legal. Postmaster General steps down effectively amid. Okay, that's just got the word business in it, so Fox Business jumped on this. Elon Musk led agency. These are just stories related to him. The loans were issued. Okay, why wouldn't you just list this on their website? Yeah. Oh, because it's bullshit, right? Fuck me. Just so lame. So, again, just file that under trust me, bro.
Former President Donald.
Oops, sorry. I'm going to click on this.
Who got a $100,000 loan. That's a very precocious baby we're talking about here.
We're tackling the fraud, waste, and abuse in the age.
Tell them the date. Tell them the date when the baby took the 100,000. What year was that? Because I guarantee it was 2020. If it happened at all, it happened under Trump. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear when these loans were taken out, because a lot of them are like 2021 to 2020 to 2021. Yeah, really? You mean based on the loan filings that had happened as the economy was fucked up and all that stuff? So there was just this flood of people defrauding the system or whatever under Trump.
We've seen, hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud go unprosecuted. So we're taking that on. We have a zero tolerance policy for fraud, and we continue to crack down on it and make sure people are held accountable.
And you have a lot of that. We found far too much of it. It's a pure fraud. We like to use the words waste and abuse because they sort of sound good, but
they do. I like waste and abuse. Yeah. Both of those are fun words to say.
Many of these things are pure fraud. Now, there was a contract that you've heard about where Stacey Abrams got $2 billion just before we took over, and it was a rush to get her the money, and that was environmental, and nobody knows what she was doing. But $2 billion, if you got $2 million, that's a lot. If you got 200,000, that's a lot. But this was $2 billion was given.
You sound kind of jealous. Also, it was to coordinate through other. It was to dole it out to a bunch of different organizations they would advise on and work with other groups that existed across the country in different areas, because there's a lot of disparate groups. And instead of handing out big chunks of money to these smaller groups, you have somebody you trust oversee all of it, working with the NGOs, and they coordinate that part of it. If the Congress could take it on, but if they don't actually agree that climate justice is a problem in the Congress, or getting them to vote on it would be an impossibility, then you could set up a process whereby an NGO does this, which is the White House did.
Do you want to talk about that? And the other one that was even worse?
EPA has now canceled over $22 billion worth of contracts.
Yeah, fuck clean water.
$2 billion going to this NGO that Stacey Abrams was tied to.
Was tied to? I thought she ran it and they gave her the money and she just bought a big house and ran off with the money.
Received only $100 in 2023.
You mean when it started, somebody put $100 into the account to start the account? Like you do when you start an organization and you open a bank account for it, and they have a minimum to open it that day, which is $100. Maybe.
And then the Biden administration gave them $2 billion. The director of the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund saw his former employer get $5 billion. So $20 billion went to just 8 NGOs, and they're all pass-throughs. And then they were giving it to other entities. Many of them were pass-throughs.
Which ones weren't? If many of them are pass-throughs, which ones weren't pass-throughs? I mean, you looked, right? You know what they do. You looked at what they do, and you look at what they've managed to do, or what they're, the progress reports that they report back up, both to Abrams and to the government agency giving the money in the first place, right? That's on the books. This is not a mystery.
And what you have is all these extra middlemen, they're taking their cut.
Are they?
The taxpayer...
Or is the staff of those places paid by donors, and then the money that comes from the government used for the actual task of the organization? You looked, didn't you?
Getting screwed. They're losing out on all this hard-earned money.
Or they're getting all this clean drinking water and better air for a cheaper price.
Can't afford to have the federal government waste. The partnership with Doge and Elon Musk has been incredible at EPA. Their team is very talented. We wouldn't have been able to do it without them. And of course, this man...
Do what?
From President Trump, to make sure that we identify every last penny, whether we're saving $50,000, $5 million, or $22 billion. We will not rest until every last penny is saved. Thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity to do this for the American public.
Yeah, but you do realize that the money is less important than clean water and clean air? That the ramifications financially, even to the damaging health effects of toxic water or toxic air, are way more expensive than even a couple $1 billion. That's why you spend that money the way you do, to guarantee those things, because the cost of the damage, I mean, never mind putting a cost on human life, which I'm sure you're against as a Christian man. But of course, the damage done just in the medical costs of it could be in the hundreds of billions of dollars. And this is a way of we could spend $6 billion here or $200 billion later. Be like the case against big tobacco back in the day. It was an expensive case, one of the most expensive cases in the history of the federal government. But the benefits of not having all those people who might be on Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security who've been smoking this entire time, having to get, extrapolating the cost of all that lung cancer out, was way more expensive than what the legal cost of that trial was. So anybody who bitched about the cost of the trial was really just on the side of the tobacco companies. See how that works?
Great job, Kevin. So we have a lot of that. We're getting down to a point we think probably over the next 2 or 3 months we'll be pretty much satisfied with the people that are working hard and want to be members of the administration and our country, really. And
I think he's talking about they'll be done firing people in a few months.
They're doing a lot of good people. We have a lot of great people. We want to keep the good ones, and we want to get rid of the ones that don't exist. And
yeah, I think that's a good idea. The first people you want to get rid of are the people that don't exist.
Get rid of the ones that do exist but don't work, and we have quite a few of them.
Why don't you just keep them away from places where work is being done so they don't get in the way?
Would anybody else like to say something?
I would. I'd like to say something. What the fuck is going on with your head? Have you just completely given up? Or are you convinced that no one can see anything but the front of your face? So you've just blown off the rest of your skull entirely? You're just phoning it in? Also, why do you have the eyebrows from the doctor in Cannonball Run 2?
We take some questions from the press, please. Doug Collins.
Yes, Mr. Brooke, I think one of the things that you've always told me is take care of our veterans, and that's what we're doing at the VA. And one of the things, though, is you also have to know who your employees are. You have to know the very fact who you are. We're 470,000 roughly when we started this, larger than the active duty Army, when you think about that in the perspective. But however, this is an interesting point. When I first got there and we started looking at this, how you take care of people, we didn't have an HR system that could actually give us a rundown on who actually was working where. That we've had to work with that, working with our VA employees who are those liaisons. We've been able to put together an organizational chart, which we can start looking at that.
Yes, that's great. So you didn't have an HR setup in the veteran administrations that showed you where people were working and what they were doing. So they set up a chart where you can start looking at that. And that has what to do? I'm sorry. Are retired veterans responsible for working? Or are you just overlapping your concepts? This is what a waste of time.
But the interesting part about it is about taking care of veterans, and what you've told me to do is how do we get the people in the right places? And I think when we look at this, GAO has told us we were high risk for years. The previous administration put literally tens of billions of dollars and tens of thousand employees over the last 4 years, and we saw our statistics basically stay the same or go down. Backlogs went up. Maybe the question is not money and employees anymore. Maybe it's the organization and how we.
Yeah, that's the problem. We've just tried to throw money at the VA and people to try and reach out. Maybe that's not the problem. Maybe maybe the burden on the taxpayer is that there are too many vets still alive, Doug. Maybe that's it.
We deliver for the American people. That's what we're going to do.
Well said. And you know what?
Well said. Nobody knows what the fuck you're talking about. Here's what it means. Maybe cuts at the VA are a good thing. That's what he means. That's what he's saying, stupid.
I want to add to it. It is not necessarily a very popular thing to do. You're talking about employment. You're talking about people and the lives of people.
Yeah. Yeah, you are.
And yet, I think the American public understands we're trying to save our country and make our country great again. I mean, you could say it, but
you could, but there's no indication you're doing it.
We're trying to save our country from this extraordinary thing that was happening.
Oh, you mean the debt that was largely accrued, a third of which was accrued during your presidency?
What they were doing to our country was just a horrible thing, and I have no.
You mean the veterans?
Yeah, how it plays out in the public. I guess you see poll numbers that are very good numbers, but I don't know what that means long term.
It means they're going to be pissed when you do a lot of this stuff because you're doing it in such a slapdash nature that it looks like you're just handing over the lives and livelihoods of veterans and government workers and people who've dedicated their lives to public service over to a billionaire dickhead Nepo baby from South Africa who's still pissed that America played a part in stopping apartheid.
It's something that has to be done. If we don't do it, we're not going to have much of a country left, so we have to do it. So we're doing things that I think a lot of presidents wouldn't be inclined to do, but we're doing it to...
Yeah, but not because of the debt, because it's wrong and it doesn't actually help.
really, I don't want to use cliche. I don't want to say we're doing it to make America great again, because I say that on the campaign trail, but there's really no other words that could express it better than.
Yeah, there are, but you don't have them.
We're doing it to
make America great again.
Help our country, and our country was riddled with fat.
Riddled with fat.
Like no country probably anywhere in the world.
Yes, no country was riddled with fat the way we were riddled with fat.
And we're getting.
Everything's a projection with this guy.
The fat, and at the same time we're.
Yes, America needs Ozempic and its stomach stapled against its will. And we need to, apparently America needs to be shot with an elephant dart and have it, drag it into a zoo and have its, a foot of its colon taken out.
And we're going to be bringing in millions of very good, high-paying jobs. And
really? We're immigrating, we're using immigrant labor, I guess, millions of them?
We'll be taking in a lot of money. Our country's going to be very strong.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's not right now, and obviously not anytime soon, but.
Ripped off by every country in the world, friend and foe. We were taken advantage of like.
If we were being ripped off and taken advantage of like no one, how do we become the biggest fucking economy in the world? With a military 6 times the size of the next 10.
He's ever seen. And you saw what happened today with Venezuela. We did something with Venezuela. We
did something. By the way, he put sanctions on Venezuela against Venezuelan oil because he thinks this will stop them from sending people that were supposed to go to their insane asylums to America. Even though, by the way, the last thing he did as a president when he was leaving office, if you'll recall, on the very last day in 2021, was to extend deferred enforcement to Venezuelan migrants for a year and a half before they even start getting their case adjudicated.
It was long in the making.
It was long in the making.
And it's very substantial. And we'll be announcing cars very shortly. And
yes, really, you're gonna have another Texas show or Tesla showroom out in the front lawn of the White House.
We already announced steel, as you know, and aluminum. We'll be announcing pharmaceuticals at some point in the not too distant, because we have to have pharmaceuticals. We don't.
Yeah, we do.
Make pharmaceuticals anymore in our country.
Yeah, we don't make pharmaceuticals in our country anymore. That's right. We need to help big pharma move their factories back to the United States so that rednecks and maggots can all feel better about they're buying American-made ivermectin in sour apple flavor in a rectal injection package.
And if we have problems like wars or anything else, we need steel, we need pharmaceuticals, we need aluminum, we need a lot of these things.
Absolutely. We're going to need, if we have a war, we're going to need beer cans and bandages and bullets.
That we sort of don't make anymore, and yet we're equipped to do it all. So we'll be announcing some of these things in the very near future, not the long future, the very near future. And
yeah, not the long future.
It'll bring in billions of dollars, billions and billions, and it'll
also raise the cost of things because manufacturing it here is a lot more expensive because people need even that low $7 an hour minimum wage. The federal minimum wage is higher than most countries that you could buy this kind of stuff, especially places like India and China where you used to purchase it from. So prices are going to go up is what he's trying to tell you.
And maybe more importantly, jobs. It'll protect the jobs we have, and it's going to be really quite amazing. Chris, did you have something to say?
Yeah, Chris, say something. I'm out of hyperbole.
Yes, Mr. President. I want to say energy is the infrastructure that makes our country run. And
energy is the infrastructure that makes our country run. Energy is what our country runs on the infrastructure. You need gas for cars that drive across bridges, I guess.
Our national security. The Biden administration grew my department, the Department of Energy, by 20%, and expenditure much more than that.
Yeah, and oil production went up to the highest level ever.
all in an effort to reduce the production of energy in the United States and to make energy more expensive.
See what he did there? I pooped.
Are stewards of the American
That's good. You see what he did there? That's good.
taxpayer dollars, right? That's the job of everyone around this table.
Also, no, they were tasked with looking at alternative sources of energy that don't require us to pollute our waters and, you know, our lakes, rivers, and streams, and also mine our public lands and that are renewable, that we don't ever run out of, so that we don't have to rely on other countries if we do run out of this particular source.
Led by you. We want to reverse that trajectory and care about every dollar an American taxpayer gives us, and are we using it for the benefit of Americans? Let me tell you one thing, huge growth in expenditures, huge growth in employee count. Puerto Rico, an American territory, had its electricity grid destroyed. They had billions of dollars in the Department of Energy to help Puerto Rico, yet they didn't spend that money, because that money would have meant more energy, more jobs, more prosperity in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, rip Puerto Rico.
To have them as a poster child of wind and solar. This island should run on wind and solar. That just doesn't work.
Sure it does. They have a lot of sunlight in Puerto Rico.
But they cared about politics more than the American people.
Or they cared about the fact that renewable energy on an island specifically would be a particular win long term.
And they didn't treat the dollars like they were their dollars. Yeah. This table, the team you have assembled, we're treating the American dollars like they're our dollars.
Thank you.
Really? So you're basically investing it all in Doge and snorting Adderall off of a stripper's ass on the weekends? Is that? I mean, that's what you guys treat your dollars like. So.
We're doing a great job on energy, by the way. We have things happening with energy.
Let me guess, liquid gold?
Will knock your socks off.
Yeah, it's true. Especially if you grab 2 live wires and you're not grounded.
Amazing job. Howard, do you want to say a couple of words?
Yeah, say a couple of words about knocking socks off.
Well, what is so exciting is April 2nd is just around the corner, and that's American Liberation Day.
Yeah, that's going to all work out.
That's the day when the rest of the world starts to treat America with respect.
That's right, finally. They're obviously not doing it now. They're laughing at Trump every time he picks up the phone. But, man, when April 2nd comes around, it's going to be respect central.
And your leadership, understanding how the rest of the world treats us and what balance and what fair trade finally is going to be.
Finally.
It's going to take care of America. It's going to launch the External Revenue Service to start to build the power. And
also, the External Revenue Service is just, you're going to take the tariffs paid by Americans and pretend it's coming from outside the country. I don't know about you, but this sounds like bullshit.
Of America back, and I'm honored to be helping you on that course.
It's an interesting term, right? The External Revenue Service.
Yes, it's ironic. By the way, look at Marco Rubio.
Going to take it. Money from the outside, and that's going to keep our taxes low, and I think getting a lot lower. It's going to be a lot of money, and that will, the external will take care of the internal
to a large extent, like no one's ever seen before.
So I think it's going to be a beautiful transfer.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing, bro. And prices are not going to go up.
Linda, you might say a couple of words. You've done so amazing. It's a 50% cut. And more importantly, we want to bring education into the states. We're at the bottom of the pack, but we're the most expensive per pupil. And we want to.
All right, we've been through this bullshit before. And I got to let you guys go. But I want to be abundantly clear. If you think you're bored with this bullshit, so is he. And even with them kind of like, you know, glad-handing and backslapping as much as they're doing, they're all grinding their teeth at night for this April 2nd bullshit deadline he's thrown together. Whatever, was it Wednesday of next week? Yeah. A week from Wednesday, his tariffs either get punted again, in which case, Maria Barrio, that is really messing with markets. Or they're going to hit, and the cost, like, is going to slam into everybody because that's how it works. And they're not, and people aren't going to be going, oh, okay, yeah, China is paying to be able to put stuff into our market. They're paying it. We're going to pay those things. You buy something, you're going to pay a tariff on it. The company you're buying it from has paid the tariff on it. If they can't find an American equivalent, you're going to end up paying it. And in a lot of these cases, especially when you're buying things that we don't want to or need to make in the United States, he's still going to tariff those things because of this bizarre attachment to it that he thinks this is going to pay for his tax cut. That's all this is. Boil it all down. Greenland, Canada, fucking Panama Canal, it's all bullshit. What he wants to do is get his tax cut extended permanently. That's his legacy. It's all he gives a fuck about. And if he has to cut services and the military and Medicare and Medicaid and all these things and jack up prices for the average American so that they pass the cost on to you like an incidental VAT tax, and then allow 100% write-offs for business purchases, meaning if you buy a yacht, hey, you got to take your customers out on something. You can't take them out on a little boat. That's fucking embarrassing. You'll lose business. You got to buy that bigger boat, and you have to be able to write that off, because it's also if in case there's a dangerous situation, you need it as sort of a at-sea bunker, right? That's where the poor and the middle class will absorb all the costs of running everything in the United States, and Trump and his buddies will use those funds to and to not pay any taxes, for one, and also to backfill all of their businesses. So they will get all these loans and support from the federal government. They will get the federal government protecting their intellectual property rights on stuff, but they will never pay the taxes that go into actually enforcing those things. You will. And that's how they'll do it. With these, the tariffs are not something the rich will feel. It's something they pass along to consumers. That's you. Everything he's doing, everything, is about securing his tax break later this year. He was going to do it right away, right out of the gate. That's what they're planning on doing. But Chuck Schumer and the Democrats fucked him out of it. And as much as people are complaining about Schumer and where's the fight and blah, 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 the reality is a CR kept him from attaching the language or the architecture in the House bill that was going to extend the debt ceiling and allow him and extend his tax cut, or the Senate, which would allow him to fold the debt over and then extend his tax cut later this year. Both of those are out the window now because we're on a CR. Because Chuck Schumer, this isn't his first time around the fucking block. Oh my gosh, Lynn, thank you so much. Thank you for the tip, because apparently there's no tax on tips, which is great. I'm for it. So thank you guys so much. And Jen, thank you as well. They need to prosecute all the people who shared national security information on Signal. I agree, Jen. I think that's a brilliant idea. I think that's what should be called for. Do you think anybody who shares national security and defense secrets on a commercially available platform should be prosecuted? I mean, it's time for oversight. When the Dems retake the House, I think that's one of the first things they have to call for, is hearings on Pete Hegseth leaking battle plans on Signal to reporters because he's stupid. That's what I think the priority should be. This is a violation of his oath, as the SecDef, and endangers the lives of our soldiers. All the language that even maggots can understand. So I will let you guys go. I'll see you tomorrow. Regular show at the regular time tomorrow, because I don't have to sing tomorrow night. Thank God, because talking is taxing enough, But in the meantime, like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, share it out. Follow my Substack, all that stuff. I know I went long tonight, but we had to because I had to make up for the time when the thing didn't work, and now I got to go back to working on what I was working on to make tomorrow's show even better. Whoops. It's not mornings, it's afternoon. Hold on. I'll fix that. There we go. Thank you guys so much.
He's gonna take the fucking thing away from you. He's gonna kill you with it, and then he's gonna have sex with you.
He has name!
Hey, I guess they're right. Senior citizens, although slow and dangerous behind the wheel, can still serve a purpose.
Sorry, I'm fucking.
Let me put it this way, Mr. Amer. The 9000 series is the most reliable computer ever made. No 9000 computer has ever made a mistake or distorted information. We are all, by any practical definition of the word, foolproof and incapable of error.
Why don't you just sit there and bleed a while before you taste some real pain?